one thing, I spent some time in Washington, D.C. this year. And, both sides of the aisle, though, it's pretty bipartisan that, they don't love this flow of cargo, this low value of Chinese goods coming into the United States. So, I don't think it's, the Democrats of the United States think that this is a bad thing, but Trump's going to come into office and he's going to cancel it. I don't see it, wish-washing. I think that, de minimis, I'm not seeing that, changing from $800 to $200, for instance, it used to be $200, is going to actually slow down the volume. And the reason I don't think that's going to be the case is, a lot of Temu, Shein, kind of these targets, it's all under $200, right? Most people don't go order $200 from Temu, right? So that actually doesn't slow the flow. And what CBP is trying to do, it's not so much of a secret, right? But CBP has other problems with fentanyl coming into the country, with drugs coming in. When you think about these packages coming in, you have freighters full, right? Out of Hong Kong, I think they said this week at the conference, over 70% of the volume that's flying out of Hong Kong now, they believe to be e-commerce at its core, right? Even if it's not. China now, they think 50% out of China is e-commerce, right? So when you think about that amount of volume of freighters coming in, CBP is doing very little to inspect these packages. They don't have the resources to inspect the packages. And so there's illicit things coming through that, right? And so they got to slow that down. Changing de minimis from 800 to 200 doesn't slow that down. So, what I think is going to happen is you're going to look at, taking de minimis just off the table for a certain set of products. What that set of products are, they've talked about the products that are subject to the original Trump tariff, Section 301 tariffs. There's still some work that needs to be done in the rulemaking, public comment periods on how they ultimately land on this. But, we're telling clients it's going to slow down. Now, ultimately, Temu, Shein, and others will also slightly just adjust their business model. They'll probably bring more into the U.S., front load the inventory. They might do some things. It's very up in the air. I have clients that have stopped kind of their investments in Mexico for the time, because if the product still originates in China and it's coming in from Mexico, they're trying to use de minimis today, or they use, NAFTA or the new version of NAFTA. So, when you're looking at those regulations, but if it still applies because it was manufactured in China, then it takes a lot of the value proposition of a Mexico fulfillment out, because it's still going to be subject to tariffs. So, if you're going to put it on the ocean, plus put it in Mexico, and you're still going to be subject to tariff, then it probably doesn't make sense to look at Mexico for a northern, for a fulfillment model. Maybe that still makes sense for your, Southern California, Las Vegas, Phoenix type fulfillment model, but or Texas, right? But it doesn't make sense for your populations in Chicago and the Northeast United States.